last week,
We spoke
and
about
for
optimizing environment.
yeah, we did. So these are the nine. Just a quick refresh what this is, and especially for maybe burned. So this is called our life mastery method system, right? So we call this life mastery method. This is our you could say one of our primary coaching methods, and there really is quite a few things to this, but I'll just kind of walk you through high level overview first, and then we'll kind of go into it. So there's four dimensions of life mastery. The four dimensions of life mastery are, that's right there in the center, is health and well-being. And health and well-being could be anything to do with your physical well-being, mental health well-being, spiritual well-being, emotional well-being. And I would say that's probably the most important dimension, because that's like our center. And then we have this one, which is love and relationships, which could be personal relationships, professional relationships, relationship with ourself, our creator, any kind of relationship that we're in. The next one is vocation and career fulfillment. So vocation means like our calling, our purpose, what we're here for, why we're, you know, the kind of reason for our being in this life, why we came to this world, and what our purpose and mission is. And that's vocation. It's kind of aligning with that. And we can either be aligned with it or not aligned with it. And then career fulfillment would be the work that we do that is kind of aligned with the vocation, and it's kind of the work that we do. So that's the four. Let me just pin myself here a little bit. So that's the three dimensions. And the final dimension is time and money freedom. And time freedom is having the freedom, just to spend the time doing things that we really care about, spending time with people that we love, doing the things that have meaning and purpose. So that's time freedom. Money freedom means having the resources that we're able to do that with as well. So time and money freedom is the fourth dimension. So these four dimensions create the life mastery. These are all about life mastery. So the coaching system that we when we're coaching clients, what we're actually doing is we're helping them to realize more of the potential in these four areas of life. And it's not about perfection, because, I think there's always another level, but and sometimes one level, sometimes we struggle with one level. Like we may go through a phase of life where we might have some challenges in a certain area. And that's very normal. That's just normal part of, the rhythm of life and the seasons of life. But the purpose of the Life Mastery Method is really just to achieve more of our potential in these different areas of life. It's not about perfection, but it's all about alignment, I would say. Like this word alignment, when we talk about this model, it's such a very important part of this whole process, because it's all about aligning ourselves with, our higher nature. And if we explore our higher nature does have these in abundance, and really what the Life Mastery Method is really about helping a living being, or a human being, because we don't really do this with animals. So it's we don't really coach animals. I think they're kind of like, they're aligned already with their nature, but it's really more about helping us to align with our higher nature. And that's really what the Life Mastery Method is really all about. And in the process of aligning with our higher nature, coming to tuning into the highest version of ourselves, because it's not becoming the highest version of ourselves, because you cannot become something that you already are. So it's not about becoming a higher version of ourselves. It's aligning with the highest version of ourselves that's already there. Like sometimes we say, become the higher version of yourself, but you can't really become the higher version of yourself, because it's more about removing the conditioning that stops us from seeing who we truly are. So it's just like, for example, when someone's sick, if someone is unhealthy, being unhealthy is not our natural condition. Like, the natural condition of a human being is to be healthy, is to have energy. That's the natural condition. The unnatural condition is when there's a virus in your system that's basically polluting, contaminating your system. So in the same way, if we're not experiencing this at a higher level, it means somewhere we've actually covered ourselves with some form of contamination. And that contamination comes in the form of, it manifests in different ways. That contamination will manifest in things like alter identities, where we believe that we're something that we're not. Beliefs and stories is another form of kind of contamination. And when I say contamination, I mean contaminating the soul or the spirit or the divine self with material, thoughts or material consciousness. So these alter identities are also a contamination of the pure consciousness. And beliefs and stories are another contamination, and then obviously everything gets filtered through that. So the reason why identities is at the very base of the pyramid is because that's kind of like where everything else becomes contaminated at the other levels. I'll give you an example. Let's say if I have pure water, and I pour that pure water through earth, the water is going to get contaminated when it goes through that earth. So this is the earth, and this is the pure consciousness. And when the pure consciousness comes through this thing, it gets contaminated, and it affects everything else underneath it or above it, in this case. But if I was to turn that around, you would see that the identity means who we think we are. So it could be, I'm black, I'm white, I'm young, I'm old, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm smart, I'm dumb, I'm old, I'm young, I'm a master coach, I'm a new coach, I'm a bad coach, I'm a good coach. These are all identities that we label ourselves with that create a belief and a story. And those beliefs and stories determine our values, what's important to us. And those values or things that are important to us depend where we focus. And wherever we focus, we develop those specific capabilities. That determines our behavior, and that determines the results that we get. So this is like a real, it's what it's really about is just helping the humans, helping people to get in alignment with the highest version of themselves, and in that way to achieve their big dream and realize more of the potential in every area of life, actually. So I'm giving like a really high level overview of this at the moment, but that's really what the model is about. So it has many different levels of application. This model can be applied in very kind of, you could say, mundane, simple ways, just to help people achieve like a goal. You could use it for that if you wanted to. But if you really wanted it to take it to its highest, level, you could even use this to help people to achieve like a certain level of self-realization as well. So kind of, and I think a lot of that depends on who we are and where we're coming from when we're using this. Because we can only go as deep as we've been ourselves. So if we can only fly, a certain level, it's going to be very difficult to lift another person to a higher level than we're at. So when we're using this model, our kind of understanding of the model, a lot of that depends on how deep we've gone into it ourselves as well. And in the process of going through this coaching and in the process of learning this, you will also be able to experience these different levels of your own existence as well. And that's what we call these are called the 6 levels of existence, right? So level 1 is environments. That's the first level of our existence, is what's around us, the results that we're getting. the outcomes that we get in life. That's the first level of existence. The second level of existence is the behavior, our actions, what we do. The third level of existence is our capabilities, how well we do those things. So it's not just what you do, it's the way that you do it, right? Bananarama. It's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. That's what gets results. Like, it's an old song. If maybe if you're old as me, you probably might know that one. Some of you young ones might not know that. But capabilities is how well you do something. And the values is what's important to you. And what's important to you normally determines where you focus. So your capabilities, where do capabilities come from? Capabilities come as a result of spending 10,000 hours on a specific topic. That's where capabilities come from. Now, why would anyone spend 10,000 hours on a topic? Well, because it's important to you. Just like, for example, you're here today and you're developing capabilities. Why? Because it aligns with your values. Because for you, coaching is like, well, this is something really important to me. Transformation, helping people transform my own life is important to me, and therefore you will be willing to spend 10,000 hours in this area, and because of that, your behavior will reflect your capability. So values are very closely related to your capability, because we only spend time. Well, not only spend time. Sometimes we spend time in other places that we don't really want to be, like if you have a job that you're really not aligned with, but you're doing it because there is another value there, which is, security, safety. You need to take care of your family, and that's a high value, and having financial security and safety is a higher value than enjoying your time 24 hours a day, right? Because you know that if you don't have money, if you don't have security, you won't be able to take care of yourself. So therefore, we do spend time. But if you look at our behavior is directly related, and our time is directly related to what we value. Unless your freedom has been taken away from you. Sometimes that does happen. So, for example, if you're in jail or you're in prison, obviously your liberties, your freedom is less because, you're restricted. But in most cases, people, obviously there's no, everyone's restricted in some way or another. But very often, how we spend our time is determined by what's important to us. And then beliefs and stories, obviously that is a deeper foundation. And then your identities are also. So when we're actually coaching people, what we're doing is we're exploring the 6 levels of existence. When we're actually coaching a client, we're seeing, okay, where is my client right now? Which area are they in conflict with? Which area are they out of alignment with? And very often when we're doing the coaching with the client, the diagnosis, we're asking questions, and through the process of asking questions, we are discovering which area of the 6 levels of existence is somewhere out of alignment. So if I'll give you an example, let's say if I say, okay, so what happened last week? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Right? That's the question I'm asking a client, and the client will answer in a specific way. They'll say, well, you know what, I didn't have time. Now, if they said they didn't have time, there could be many reasons for that, right? They didn't have time could be just a belief and story that they're telling themselves. It could be also a conflict in values, because it's like part of them wanted to do what they said they were going to do, but the other part of them didn't value that so much and valued something else. So instead of doing that, they did that, right? So it's sometimes a value thing. Sometimes it's a capability thing, because it's like, well, I was going to do it, but I didn't really feel confident, and I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't know what the steps were, so I just didn't do it, right? So there's different reasons why people don't do things. And then it could even be environments. Like, well, why didn't you do it? Well, because this happened and that happened, and my wife said don't do this, otherwise I'm going to leave you. right? So that's like an environment that doesn't support you. Or it could be even their identities. And how do you know? Because they'll say, well, one part of me wanted to do it, but then the other part of me didn't want to do it, right? And then that means they have like 2 parts parts of themselves. So in this way, we have this whole, so this is actually the human being here. The human being is this. And then this is the 6 levels of existence. There's a 7th level, which is kind of out of this triangle. The 7th level is our pure, like you could say, the soul, the spirit, the Atma, whatever you want to call it, the divine self, your higher nature. That's that kind of consciousness, whatever you want, whatever name you'd like to call. But that's our kind of true self, the part of us that's not contaminated, the part of us that's like, has that divinity. And then when we come into this material body, when we come into this, and there's 2 kinds of bodies. We have the physical body, and then we have the subtle body as well. So there's kind of 3 bodies: spiritual body, physical body, and subtle body. So, for example, when you sleep at night, that's your astral body, that's your subtle body. This is your gross body. It's made of, skin and bone and blood. And then we have our spiritual body, which is the living force. So these are the 3 bodies that we have. So when the living force comes into this material body, this is kind of like what happens, right? That's like our experience of material life. We're spiritual beings having a material experience, and this is the material experience that we're having. And the environment would be the love and relationships, the people around you. The environment would be your health and well-being, the physical body, your emotional body, that's your health and well-being. Physical body, emotional body, mental body, that's your health and well-being. And then vocation, career fulfillment is the work that you do, the duties that you do, the legacy that you're going to leave, the service that you're doing, the kind of like the work you're doing in the world that impacts other people. And then time and money freedom is basically your security. It's like that. So this is, I'm giving kind of a bit of a deeper explanation, but I want you to kind of understand the model before I go into it. And it's a good reminder maybe for us as well about what it is we have here. There's 3 phases to this life mastery method. The blueprint phase is the first one. So the blueprint is where it's the mental creation. It's the first creation. Like everything's created twice. First in the mind and the subtle realm, and then in the physical realm. But everything goes through a process of creation. So the blueprint phase is where we create what it is that we want in the spiritual dimension first, or the subtle dimension, the mental dimension. It's creating the blueprint. So if you wanted to build a house, it's the design, it's that you take out your piece of paper and you draw the lines and you think, okay, this is how I want it, and I want the windows should be here, the door should go here, this is where we put the beams here, this is where the water pipes go in. It's the blueprint. It's the first manifestation of the thing that you want to create. So when we're working with a client, the very first thing that we do with the client is we take them through the blueprint phase, where we help them to create a life that they would love in the 4 dimensions of life mastery. And so the first phase is identify what's the discontent. The discontent is the soul telling them that something's wrong. The discontent and the longing is this higher self telling them that they're out of alignment with who we truly are. It's like if you have a pain in your body, if you have a physical pain in your body, it's your body telling you, hey, there's something not quite right here. You need to look at it, right? And then you look at it and you'll see what's wrong, and then you'll heal it. So this longing and discontent is the soul calling to, the lower self that, hey, you're meant for more. So that's the identify discontent. The next thing is to discover the big dream. This is where we say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I'd love to be in the 4 areas of life. And then the third dimension of the blueprint phase is making sure it's aligned. Aligned with what? Right? Making sure it's really truly aligned with our values, with our, with our higher self. That it's something that's truly worthy of us. And we have a process to, make sure that dreams are aligned. We have like a checklist, and there's a process we take the client through to make sure things are aligned. So obviously you'll be learning all these things here. So that's the blueprint phase. Second phase is called the activate phase. The activation phase is now you have the blueprint, but still there's resistance and there's not flow. So it's like, you know what you want now, but somehow or other it's just not happening, right? It's like, I know I want this dream house and I want health and I want to be doing coaching and changing people's lives and have abundance. And I see this in my dream, but why is it not happening, right? Why is it not happening? Like, why am I stuck? Why do I feel like nothing's moving? And this is called the activation phase, which is the internal shift that we need to make for transformation to happen. It's the shift in the consciousness, and it's a shift in our thinking, and it's a shift in our being, and it's a shift in our energy. Tesla used to say vibration, energy, and frequency, right? So that everything in this world is an energy, vibration, and a frequency, and that's basically what everything is. So really, it's just aligning the energy, the frequency, and the vibration, so it's aligned with the big dream that we want to have. And in many cases, what happens is the energy, vibration, and frequency that we have is completely opposite of the big dream that we want. And as long as the energy, vibration, and frequency that we have is opposite for the big dream that we want, we're not going to realize it. And that's just physics. I mean, that's just physics. Like, even if you explore physics, like if you have a tuning fork, like in the pitch of A, or a tuning fork in the pitch of C, and you hit the tuning fork, and then you have another tuning fork in the pitch of D, when you hit this one doesn't resonate because they're not aligned. But when you have a pitch fork in the tune of like C with another one in C, if you vibrate this one automatically will vibrate. Why? Because they're aligned. They're on the same frequency. So in the same way, your blueprint, your big dream, the life that you would love has a frequency. And the frequency is going to be probably love, joy, abundance, right? And just a sense of well-being. And if you look at the 4 principles of the Life Mastery Method, what is this? This is abundance. This is the energy of abundance. You know, I have time and I have money freedom and I have abundance in my life, right? This is joy and energy and well-being and feeling great. This is joy. This is what you want. This is love, the emotion that you want to experience. And this is contribution. And this is just like, you know, feeling like you're giving. So these are this is the energy that you want to feel. You want to feel joy and happiness. You want to feel love and to be loved, because that's a very, very close energy of our divine self. You want to feel abundance and of time and freedom. You know, that freedom. And you also want to feel like you're making a difference and you're contributing and you're doing something which is really beneficial for other beings. And this is actually what you want to experience. But what we're actually experiencing very often is the opposite. You know, we feel like we don't have any time. We feel like we don't have any abundance. We feel like there's always scarcity. There's never enough. There's too much time. You know, there's too little money and too much month, right? In other words, my money comes to the end on the 20th day, but my month keeps on going for another 10 days, right? So there's you know, more time and less money, right? So we don't have any time. We don't have any money. Scarcity. That's how we're feeling. And we have this big dream to experience abundance, but inside of ourselves, we feel scarcity. We have this big dream to feel love and to be loved, but inside we feel alone and secluded, and we feel like, you know, no love, right? We want to feel joy, we want to feel peace, we want to feel happiness and all these beautiful emotions, but we're feeling afraid, fear, we're feeling you know, depressed and sad and confused and all those different things. And we want to feel like we're making a difference in the world, but we feel like our life has no meaning and no purpose, even though we have a big dream. So why is that? The reason why is because we have not activated this part of ourselves. So this piece, the activation phase, is really achieving this on the inside first. Because many people think that in order to feel all of these things that I want to feel, I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do this. Because this phase is all about doing stuff. It's strategizing actions, taking action, doing this, making sure my environment is optimized and everything around me is perfect, and then getting the results that I want, right? This is what we think we need to focus on. And this is how most people in the world, they do it, is they have a dream and then they just focus here. But because they haven't done the inner work, it doesn't feel right. So even when they make that $1 million and they get that result, they harvest the fruit, they feel that I got what I wanted, but there's something missing still. I made the $1 million, but where's the 10 million? And then they get the 10 million. Yeah, I made the 10 million, but I'm still not happy. Maybe it's 100 million I'm looking for. And they get the 100 million, think, yeah, well, maybe I just need to be a billionaire. Then that's going to do it. Right? And it never works because they haven't done the inner transformation, which is the activation phase. So there's two models, right? There's two models. There's the be, do, have, which is we focus on being, then doing, then having. And then the other model is have, do, and be. Have, have, do, and be. So most people in the world, they're operating from the model of, well, if I have this, then I'm going to, do that, and then I'm going to be this. So in other words, if I have $1 million, then I'll be able to go on my yacht, which is doing. I'll be able to buy a house, which is doing, right, and having, and then I'll be happy. But that's not how it works. The way it works is first we need to be. If you be, then you will do, and when you do, you will have. So it's like reversing the materialistic equation. And that's very, very difficult to get our heads around because we're so conditioned into this paradigm of the Western consciousness, which is if you want something, you got to work hard. If you want something, it has to take a long time. And money doesn't grow on trees. And, I'm not made of money. And, all that kind of stuff. That we inherit these belief systems and we inherit this consciousness. Very often it's generationally inherited as well. So a lot of our consciousness and a lot of our thoughts and thinking and even our values and everything is coming from just where we were born and how we were raised and the education that we were, and experiences that we went through. And it's very difficult to break out of that. And usually normally takes like a life-changing situation for you to snap out of it, where it's like you have a near-life death experience or something like that, and it's like, boom, it kind of like, oh my God. That's what happened to me. When I was 17, I had like this near-death experience, and it kind of changed my life forever. And that kind of brought me on this journey that I'm on today. Otherwise, I thought I was just going to go to college and I was going to, do this, maybe be a chef and get married and all that kind of stuff. And then I had this weird experience, and then I thought, okay, it kind of took me on a different journey, right? So very often it takes like it's like shock you out of your dream, So very often what we do is walking around like zombies in a dream. And not really connected to the higher self, and then sometimes it takes like a life challenge and real struggles in life, and just like it's like, oh my God, and it kind of wakes us up, It's like wake up. So sometimes life does that to us, and it will do that to all of us, by the way. And when that happens, you will think your life is over. You will think, okay, this is it. My life is done. You will think, okay, why is this happening to me? What did I ever do to anyone? I'm a good person. But actually, it's not. It's nothing to do with that. This is the universe blessing you with an opportunity to reevaluate where your life is heading and make new choices that are more aligned with your soul. And sometimes it looks like death. Sometimes it looks like it's going to be like the end of the world, but it's actually a gift in a very unusual way. So anyway, that's a hard one. Sometimes that's a hard one to take, and getting the paradigm shift in those situations of life is sometimes hard to catch it, right? And that's why you need a coach, because the coach can kind of help you to, okay, like, what's the blessing behind this? So in even every situation, and it could be a terrible situation that you're going through, but there's always a blessing in that situation, which is life letting you know that now is a time for transformation, and now is a time that you need to step into who you truly are, which is a highest version of yourself. Sometimes we don't catch it, and in fact very often we don't catch it, and then we'll end up just suffering because of it, and we'll end up, and you can suffer for years because of it, like blaming the world. Why did the world do this to me? I'm a victim. When actually the thing that you thought you were a victim was one of the best blessings that you've ever received in your life, right? Because it was just letting you know that, hey, you're out of alignment. And we'll continue to get those experiences until we kind of like realize that, oh, okay, it was the greatest blessing. It was the greatest blessing in my life. How many of you have ever had that experience before, where you had a situation in your life where you thought, oh my God, this is just the end. Like, I don't even know I'm going to even get through this. How can I even get through this? But then after hindsight, and maybe a lot of suffering and some soul searching, you actually realized, oh my God, this is one of the best things that ever happened to me, right? Because it forced you into a different direction. Like it could be just losing a job, it could be something simple like that. You got fired. And at the time you got fired, you thought, why, my boss is just the biggest jerk in the world. Don't they realize it wasn't me even, or whatever, you got blamed for something that you didn't do. I don't know something happened and you lost your job and you thought it was a terrible thing. But then later on, it's like you thought, oh, what am I going to do now? And then you were forced in a different direction, but then you realize, oh my God, I should have done this years ago, right? How many of you had that experience many times before? Yeah. So I think we all have, and that's sometimes it's the universe just shaking us up, it's like when someone's in hysteria, you're like slapping them on the face, and it's like, oh, because they're in that shock. So most of the time, as human beings, we're kind of like in this hysteria of this conditioned life that we're in, and sometimes the universe gives us a slap on the face, and it seems like a terrible thing, but it's not. It's the universe being gracious and kind to like wake us out of our dumb state. Hard one. That's a hard one. It's a really hard one, and it's very difficult to catch the silver lining at times, because it looks like the world is over, but if you can catch it early on, number one, there's two things that'll happen. Number one, very quickly you'll be able to move into a new phase of life, and number two, you'll see it as a blessing, and number three, you will end the misery of it very quickly, because the longer you dwell in the pain of it, the more you'll suffer. But as soon as you realize the gift that it is, you will transcend, and you will even be grateful for the situation and see it as a wonderful blessing. And now you're no longer a victim. Otherwise you'll stay a victim for, I know people that have been a victim for many, many, many years, right? And they're just like always blaming that person for this situation that happened in their life, and they're never able to move on from it, and they didn't get the lesson. So that's something, Anyway, that's another story for another day, but back to the point. The point is, the blueprint phase, this is the main thing. So a lot of our coaching is really helping the client to achieve the life mastery, which is those emotional experiences that they want. Look at these things. These things are all emotional experiences that we're looking for. If you look at time and money freedom, we're looking for that emotional experience of security, abundance, freedom. Like if I was to ask you, why do you want $1 million? And you say, well, because, why? Well, because what emotions will that experience give you? By the way, these are very powerful questions. When you're coaching the client, these are the questions you're asking. Like, if you get this thing that you say you want, how will you feel? So if someone says to me, I want to make $1 million, and say, oh, great. And what would that mean to you? well, that would mean, I can spend more time with my family, I can travel the world, I can do what I want, I can. And if you were to put that into one word, what would you say? Well, freedom. Okay, so security, right? That is an emotional experience that they're hoping to feel. And they think, or people think, that when I have this, I will feel that way. But the reality is, those feelings do not come from the thing itself. They come from the paradigm. They come from the stories that we tell ourselves. That, well, if I have this, it's going to mean this. So, and it's the same thing with love and relationships as well. Why do you want that love and relationship? Why do you want this relationship? Why do you want to be in this relationship? Why do you want to be with this person? Well, I want to be with this person because I want to feel like, I want to feel love, and I want to be loved, and I want to feel like I have someone to take care of me. I want to feel that safety and security that I belong. And someone, I have this emotional experience. But what we're actually looking for is the emotional experience, right? Because there's many people have relationships, right? But those relationships don't give you the experience that you want. Like, you want a relationship that gives you experience of connection and that, that emotional, love, or whatever we want to call that. We want to feel that love and connection. That's what we want to feel. And anytime someone needs coaching on this, it basically means they're not feeling that. They're not feeling that connection. They're not feeling that love. They're not feeling that intimacy. They're not feeling that, that there's someone there with them. Right? They're feeling separate. They're feeling lonely. They're feeling, even you can be in the relationship with someone, sitting in the same room with them, in conversation with them, and feel completely separate and alone. Right? And then you can be, a million miles from anyone, in a cave in the Himalayas, and feel completely connected to everyone and everything in the world, at a higher, deeper level, and feel love all around you, but you're alone, and you've been alone for 20 years, right? So this shift that we're making here, the shift that we're making over here, is not an external shift, it's the internal shift. Because if you just make the external shift, you're not going to experience the emotions that you truly want in these 4 areas of life. So this is the internal experience of what your big dream. So if this is your big dream right here, this is the internal experience of your big dream that happens on your inside, and it always happens on the inside before it happens on the outside. Right? It always happens at the subtle level first before it goes into the gross level. This is how everything is created. Everything always has a subtle thought manifestation, and then from thought manifestation it goes into physical creation. That's how things are created. And it's really important to understand this principle. Like, thoughts become things, there's a lot of everything around you, including the house that you're living in, the room that you're sitting in, the wallpaper that's on your wall, the carpet that's on your floor, was first a thought in the mind before it became an actual thing. So there was a blueprint first, and then there was an engineer who thought, okay, this is how we need to create this. Okay, we need to do this. This is the machine that we need to make. There was a blueprint first on a piece of paper, but before it went on a piece of paper, it was in someone's mind. And then from the mind, it went onto paper. From the mind, it went into operations. But it started off as a thought. And then before the thought, it started off as a desire. So first there's the desire. Then from the desire, there's a thought. And then from the thought, there's the manifestation. So it's energy, vibration, and frequency. So this is the energy, vibration, and frequency level. And then this is the gross physical level, where actually, we move things around, and we take a piece of an element of the material energy, and we add it to another element of the material energy, and we create something. We take a piece of earth, put some water to it, mix it up, and make a brick. When we put fire to it, we put those bricks together with little bits of cement in between, and we build a house around it. And then inside the room, we put things in it, and then we put ourselves in it. We spend most of our times putting things in things. Like, I analyzed this once and I think I spend all of my time putting things in something. Like, I'm putting water in a glass, I'm putting myself in a room. I'm putting food inside of my body. Like we spend most of our time putting things in other things. It's weird. But I just, an observation. Okay. You think about everything we do, it's putting something inside of something else. Even right now, I'm putting words and thoughts inside of your head. Right? So we spend all of our time putting things in other things. You can think about that for a few days and you'll see how that happens. Okay. And if you look at jobs, what's a job? A job is putting something inside of something. Taking, especially if you're an engineer or something like that, it's putting something in something else and then putting it all and then another thing and another thing. Okay, here it is. It's like a packet. We love to put things in packets. Yeah. Okay, that's a weird thought anyway. You don't need to go there. But can you see how this is, and I'm sorry I'm spending a long time. This is kind of philosophical and it's very kind of theoretical. But in order to master this kind of coaching, you kind of need to understand what we're kind of doing at a kind of philosophical level. And then it's going to help us to, that's what I'm doing then. So I'm creating the blueprint for the client, the life that they would love in these 4 areas of life. That's the first thing we're doing, blueprint phase. Once I've done that, then I need to make sure that they're aligned with that in terms of their energy, vibration, and frequency. So frequency would be everything that I've shared with you on that level. Transcending time is really about making sure that the big dream is not something that's in the future or it's in the past. Because very often what we do is when we created a big dream, like, I'm here in this moment of time, but my big dream is 5 years from now or 3 years from now. And what that does, it creates a separation between you and your big dream. Transcending time means we're living in the moment with my big dream in this moment. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that, my big dream is over there in the future and I'm here in this present moment and that was me in the past. Because the past and the future do not exist. I'll repeat that because it's a hard one to catch. The past and the future do not exist. The only thing that we have is this moment in this time. The future is just a thought about what could happen. The past is a memory of something that may have happened. But the only thing that we really have is the moment, which is the present, right? So the present moment. So right now we just have this moment, and that's the only thing that we ever have is the present moment. So if your big dream is anywhere in the future, you are going to feel a separation. You're going to feel that something's missing. So part of this work that we do, and this is really important. I am my first client. You can write that down if you want, tattoo it somewhere. I am my first client. And like one of the biggest opportunities as a coach is to become our first client and to start applying these principles in our own life. And I mentioned this before, we can only take our client as deep as we've gone ourselves. So this is also, not only are we working towards the transformation of the people that we're coaching, we're working on our own personal transformation, which is to get more aligned with who I am in the present moment. And we're so blessed because as soon as you're not doing this, you will experience this. And anytime you experience this, we should know one thing. Now I'm living in the future, and I want something that I don't have, or I'm living in the past. I'm regretting something that I did that I shouldn't have done, or I'm lamenting that I lost something that I had that now I don't have. And if you're experiencing lamentation, regret, guilt, shame, you're living in the past. Part of you is living in the past. And if you have desire, longing, and you wish you had something, part of you is living in the future. And if you're doing any of those two things, you're not going to be able to experience your dream right now. Let me ask you, the most joyful moments in your life. You're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about the past. You're just in that moment, right? Isn't it true? Like, think about your peak experiences of your life. You know, those moments that were just like, oh my God, that was just so amazing. Like, you weren't thinking about the future. You weren't thinking about the past. You were just in that moment of just like pure joy and bliss. Is it not? Like, and I can give you a mundane example, but let's just say you're with your lover, or, you know, your husband or your wife in an intimate moment. You're not thinking about what you did yesterday or what happened. You're just there in that moment, and that's what makes it so special, right? Or if you're on stage speaking, you know, and it's like everyone's listening and they're giving you a standing ovation, and it's like, oh my God, it's like you're in the moment and it's in flow. That's called flow state, and we all experience it, you know. Many times we're in that flow state. Flow state means we're not thinking about what's going to happen next. Because when you think about what's going to happen next, different emotions arise. Fear, like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it all goes wrong? What if I say this and they say that? What if I do this and everyone says I'm an idiot and they boo me off stage and says, oh, you don't know anything, right? That, you know, we're thinking about the future, what's going to happen. That, you know, and it creates this fear and tension and frustration. It's like, oh my God, I don't even think I can do this, right? Or we're feeling another experience. Maybe you got angry with your kids and you said stuff that you regret. One thing I've learned, oh my God, I think this is my number one lesson of life. One of my mentors taught me this. He said, if you're ever angry, you should just drink water. Right? And he used to say this like a lot. And I was thinking, if you're ever angry, drink water. I think, what does that mean? Right? It was very cryptic, you know. And I was thinking, okay, if you're ever angry, drink water. And I was trying to figure out what it meant for so many years. Like, if you're ever angry, drink water. So every time I was feeling like someone said something, and I felt the fire inside of me, like, you know, I was about to, you know, like, I would always go and drink some water. And I take the water and I drink it. And then I had this realization, I know why now. It's very simple. When you're drinking water, you can't speak. Right? When you're drinking water, you can't say anything because it's like you've got water in your mouth. And that's what it basically means. And that's how long it takes. Because have you ever acted out of anger? Like your kids do something and just like totally annoys you, and it's like you say something and then you regret. You think, oh my God, why did I say that? I must be the worst parent in the world. Oh my God, right? And then you regret everything. And anger destroys everything. Oh, it's terrible. So what you would do is you just like pause, go for a walk, drink some water. Like my mentor said, drink water. Don't talk. Wait, and sleep on it. You know. And then you'll notice that when you do that, actually, you're able to because when you're in that mode of like anger, you're in your dinosaur brain, you're in your caveman brain, you know, fight, flight, freeze brain that has no good intelligence. It's just like survival mode. So whatever comes out of your mouth in that moment, you're going to regret it, pretty much every time, right? So that's what happens when we're living in regret. You know, we do something that we wish we didn't do. We say something that we wish we didn't say, and we feel guilt and we feel shame, and we punish ourselves and we say, you're so stupid. Oh my God, how could you do these things? Like oh my God, you're such a bad person. Oh my God, like you're the worst in the world, and we get all depressed and everything. So that means we're living in the past. We're living in the past. We haven't let go. We haven't embraced this new moment. We think that who we were yesterday is the same person who I am today. And we keep repeating the same day and the same thoughts every single day. It's the same thoughts running around our mind every single day. And here's another thing. We are not our thoughts. We are the thinker of our thoughts. And as a thinker of our thoughts, we can observe our thoughts, but we should know that we're not our thoughts. We are the thinker of our thoughts. And as the thinker of our thoughts, we can choose our thoughts. So every time we have a thought like, I'm not good enough, or, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I'm the worst father in the world. I'm the worst husband. I'm the worst wife in the world. I'm the worst mother in the world. We've all had these thoughts at times, right? And a little bit of time spent there is okay, because it's like, it's trying to educate us that, yeah, okay, that's not the best way to do things. So a little bit of time spent there is okay, but not living there for 70 years. You know what I mean? So that's a symptom that we're living in the past, and then I could either be living in the future, but living in the present moment. That's where big dreams actually happen. Big dreams happen in flow state. When you're in flow state, there's nothing missing. It's like, oh my God, I just wanted that moment to last forever. It's like you're watching a movie and you're engrossed in the movie and you're enjoying the movie. You're not thinking about yesterday, you're just watching the movie and you're just in it, and you're just thinking, oh my God, I just want this movie to go on. Like, why does it have to end? Have you ever seen a film like that? You watch it and think, oh, this is so good. You just want it to, why? Because it's giving you this emotional experience. And you think, oh my God, you don't want it to end. So that's called flow state. Makes sense? At least intellectually makes sense, right? And then we've got remove resistance. Okay. So we've got transcend time. We've got remove resistance. Resistance is very often, I like to give this explanation. Resistance is when you're driving a car, you got one foot on the accelerator and you got one foot on the brake, and you're pressing them both at the same time. And it's just like tension, friction. Like what is a brake? A brake is something that creates friction. A brake creates friction, right? And friction will stop something that's in motion. What stops things from moving? It's friction. Right? So what stops you moving towards your big dreams? It's friction. So anytime you're not moving in the direction that you want to move in, you need to know there's friction somewhere. It means, have you ever seen a magnetic train before? The super fast trains, they go like 400, 500 miles per hour. Why are they able to go so fast? Because there's no friction, because they use a magnetic energy force which lifts the train off the track. So there's no friction, and you could even push the train even though it's very heavy. Why? Because there's no friction anymore. When the train comes onto the track, it's complete friction. So resistance means friction, and if you're not moving towards your big dream, it means there's friction somewhere. And friction comes in different places. Friction can come in alter identities. One part of me wants it, the other part of me doesn't want it. One part of me thinks that I should be a millionaire. The other part of me thinks that, look at my karma, look at my horoscope, look at my Venus, look at my palm, look, I'm destined to be poor. So we have a belief that tells us we'll never be rich, but we have a desire that's pushing us that you should be, rich. So we've got these conflicting identities that they're in friction with each other. And that's why there's no movement. So you're stuck. It's like, why am I not moving forward? Like, why am I still poor? Why am I still broke? Why is my world still not working? Well, because you're in friction. You're in friction. And that's called resistance. So you've got the brake on and the accelerator on at the same time. And most people think, well, I just need to try harder. Trying harder means pressing the accelerator more. And if you've still got the brake on, you're going to do more damage. And you can work as hard as you like, and you'll be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, night and day, burning the candle at both ends and not moving anywhere. Have you ever had that experience before? Where it's like, the harder you try, the worse it gets. Right? And then you just end up burning out. You end up getting completely, frustrated with everything. And then you say, oh, forget it. I'm not even going to do it. And the moment you do that, it works. Why? Because you stopped creating friction. And what does friction create? Friction creates heat. So if you've got something rubbing on the other thing and you do it long enough, you're going to create fire. And that's what burnout and stress is. Burnout and stress comes from when you've got two things in friction with each other, and the more they rub, and then you just get on fire, and you're just going to have a nervous breakdown, and it affects you emotionally and physically, and something is going to break. And it's probably going to be your physical health and your mental health and even your emotional. And that's why people have a nervous breakdown, emotional breakdown, the extreme stress, because they've got this friction. This soul knows that they want to be free, and they've got all these desires and dreams to have this life of fulfillment. But the harder they try, the more friction they're creating, and it just ends up into like this combustion, and they just like max out. So the thing to do is first of all, take your foot off the accelerator. Stop trying so hard. That's the first thing you need to do. Go for a walk. Take a break. Right? And it's so hard to do that when you're in this mode of like, I gotta get there. You know, like the last thing you want to do is when you want to get there is take your foot off the brake, because then you think, well, if I take my foot off the accelerator, not the brake, the accelerator. If I take my foot off the accelerator, I'm never going to get there. Because even when I'm trying all this time and energy and putting into it, I'm not getting anywhere. If I take my foot off the accelerator, I'm definitely not going to get anywhere. Right? That's the paradigm. But actually, the thing that we need to do is take our foot off the accelerator and slow down and take a step back and just go for a walk and have a breathe and drink some water and experience nature and go for a mini vacation and just don't do anything and just don't aspire. And then the moment you do that, it's like, oh my God, I just got a client. Where did that person come from? Right? And it had nothing to do with your hard work. It was everything to do with alignment. So there's two things we can do. We can either take our foot off the brake or we can take our foot off the accelerator, but one of them has to come off. We can't do both at the same time. Sometimes you just need to take your foot off the accelerator because it's easier. Have the brake. Let the brake be there. Don't move. Just let the brake be there. And then as soon as you do that, you don't need to press the brake anymore. And then you can just get in alignment. And then just when you're in alignment, it's like lifting the train off the tracks with the magnetic field. That's the energy, frequency, vibration. So the energy, frequency, energy, frequency, and vibration is what lifts the train off the track. Energy, frequency, and vibration, which is electrical energy, lifts the train off the track. When the train is off the track, and it's got that space, it's just now it's like a rocket, like a bullet. They call it the bullet anyway, don't they? Because there's no resistance. And that's really, like, it's not hard. It's so much harder to do something with hard work than it is to do something when there's no resistance. So it's not about pushing, it's about releasing. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less. And that's what resistance is all about, right? So very often when we're coaching a client, what we're looking for is, okay, this is the result that we want to experience, right? So if we look at the inner circle,